My name's Rob Harcourt. I'm the facility leader for the IMOS animal tracking facility. I've been here from the outset, and I get to work with a phenomenal team of really talented technicians, great scientists in a beautiful setting here in Sydney, along with our colleagues right around Australia and in fact around the world. So the IMOS animal tracking facility is a facility that's been run for the last decade, looking at how we can detect changes in animal movements as they relate to changes in ocean parameters, like as the ocean's warm, does that change where fish or seals or other animals go to feed? Does it alter how long it takes before they come back to breed? And we're using state-of-the-art technology to look at animals from the coast right down to the Antarctic Ocean. So we have two streams within the IMOS animal tracking facility. The first of these is the biologging stream. And the biologging stream is where we put quite complex satellite-tagged oceanographic instruments on elephant seals and Weddell seals and Australian sea lions and New Zealand and Australian fur seals. And then we also have an acoustic animal tracking facility where we provide a network of receivers, and then people can tag almost any animal that's larger than a small salmon smolt, and the animals carry these acoustic tags that ping as they go past a gate or a receiver anywhere around Australia's coast where we have a receiving network or an array, or some of our collaborators. And those range from jellyfish through turtles to a lot of different recreational and commercially fished species of fish, as well as, of course, the largest sharks that we have in Australian waters. We're really interested in how animals use the marine environment, but the really cool thing is that the animals can also tell us what's happening to the marine environment, because as they're swimming around with these oceanographic instruments on their back, they're collecting really high resolution data, and they can send us back to our labs in Sydney or in Hobart, where we can look and see what the animals are actually doing.
My name's Clive McMahon. I'm the IMOS Satellite Tracking Operations Manager, and I'm based here in Sydney at the Institute for Marine Science. And my role is really to coordinate our Southern Ocean program of deploying the clever CTD tags that we've been attaching to elephant seals and Weddell seals over the past 10 years of the IMOS life. I was lucky enough to join IMOS and SIMS about 5 years ago, and since then I've been looking after our program down in the Antarctic, and lucky enough to go down to the Antarctic each year and catch elephant seals primarily and attach these sophisticated instruments to them. Our primary role is to really get a better understanding of what animals are doing in the Antarctic and how that's changing in relation to where the animals are spending time. So which are the attractive parts of the ocean, and what are the animals doing there, and how are those parts of the ocean changing? So the instruments we use are actually very, very clever and collect information on temperature, depth and salinity, and that allows us to reconstruct the structure of the ocean. And because IMOS is an observing system that's now been running for over a decade, we're able to actually start looking at trends over time and how the animals might be responding to those changes. So typically I would head down to the Antarctic in the summer with a team of two other folk. We have a veterinarian that comes down to the Antarctic with us and another field assistant. So we need to head out first thing in the day, see who's around, identify the sort of candidate animals, and then we'll head off to the lab, get all our equipment together, and then head out into the field and do our captures. While the animal's asleep, we then attach the CTD tag to the animal's head, and it then wakes up after about 40 minutes. Typically the animals will then head out straight to sea and then come back ashore and spend probably a week or two onshore before heading off into the deep ocean, where they collect information on hydrography. So we're getting some really nice data, and we're able to use that information to do all sorts of really fantastic things. So we're able to monitor the current formation in the Antarctic. We're able to identify areas of bottom water formation. The bottom water is really, really important for driving currents around the Antarctic and ultimately around the globe. And these currents are, of course, what exchange heat, oxygen around the globe. So identifying where these currents occur or where they're being formed and how they dissipate around the globe is really important if we're trying to understand global climate interactions or global climate patterns.
As water masses change with global warming, we'll be able to detect, using the animals, how they're affected by global warming, but also how the ocean structure itself is changing. So within our facility, we have more than 270 different scientists who put their data into a centralised data repository, which allows people to find out things about animals that they would never find if they're only looking at their own study species in the region that they're working. So just in the last 12 months, we've been working with a team from right around Australia, and we've shown how we can identify functional movement classes, so the way that animals use their environment, that are not related to the individual species but rather are related to their ecology. And then this will allow us to have a much better idea of how we can conserve and manage animals, particularly coastal fish stocks that are being harvested over the course of the next 10 to 20 years as the coasts are warming at a rapid rate, which they are, particularly here on the east coast of Australia. That data is being taken up not just by collaborating right around the world with a whole bunch of biologists, but in fact oceanographers are taking that data and discovering and in fact revising their ideas of what's happening in the Southern Ocean. It's altered our fundamental models of the Southern Ocean global conveyor belt, and it's allowing us to identify new sources of Antarctic bottom water and other really important components of the changing Southern Ocean in the face of massive climate change.
Being part of this is a real privilege, of course, and we're hoping that IMOS continues to be funded well into the future to maintain the observing system, and this will allow us to make better predictions on what's happening and how we might mitigate against some of the worst predictions of a changing climate.